Hi everyone, today we're going to be playing Mono Black Control in Pauper. Pauper is a format online that utilizes commons or any card printed at common at one time. I'm chosen Pauper because last week we just had a ban of Peregrine Drake, which was completely warping the format, and it reopened different playstyles back to Pauper, and more importantly reopened my access to my first or second most favorite card in Magic, and that's the Grey March of Asphodel. When Gary, nicknamed Gary, enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life or X devotion of black. You gain life equal to life lost this way. Devotion is a mechanic from Theros that counts the number of black or symbols for that color. So in this case, Gary is black, so it counts 2 black symbols. And you'll notice a lot of these cards are running multi-black symbols for that reason. But let's do the deck. Start with the lands, 23 lands. Looks a little light for control, but lots of card draw, lots of cheap card draw, so it does work. Well, we got 5 non-swamps, still produce black mana, but they're non-swamp. 4 of them being Barren Moor. Barren Moor is battlefield tapped, and we can cycle it for cards, pretty handy. Cycling, if you don't know what it does, cycling is just discard it and get a card, which also works for our Delve or Gurmag Angler. Bojuka Bog. When Bojuka Bog enters the battlefield, it enters tapped. Bojuka Bog enters battlefield, exile cards from the player's graveyard. It's main decked for Dredge, which is a thing in Pauper. Enchantment decks, we use an Oromancer, and then other Delve decks. Delve does, you do see the green, the Hooting Mandrills, other Gurmag Anglers, being able to cut off or slow down their Delve, pretty handy. And then 18 Swamp. Our 1-drop slots, Disfigure. Target creatures -2/-2 until end of turn at instant speed. This is all commons, folks. It's a -2/-2 at instant speed at common. Unearth, return target creature converted mana cost 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. Also cycles for card draw. Pretty handy. 1 mana goes right to the battlefield, not to your hand, to the battlefield. We'll see why it's handy. 2-drop slot. Lots of 2-drops. Change Edict. Target player sacrifices a creature. Flashback for 7. Again, a common for 2 manas. A full Edict effect with the ability to use it late game. Great card. Cuombajj Witches, double black mana, so it works great with Gary. It deals 1 damage to target creature or player and 1 damage to target creature or player of opponent's choice. Yes, you're taking 1 to the face, like good, because you got nothing that the 1 damage is going to kill, so 9 times out of 10 you're taking it to the face. But you got lots of life gain through Gary and Tendrils of Corruption, don't care. Take it to the face. Card draw, Sign of Blood. Target player draws 2 cards, loses 2 life. Straight card draw, and a potential 2-mana burn spell. Late game, if the guy's got 2 left, you can use it as a burn spell. Additional kill spells, Victim of Night, destroy target non-vampire, non-werewolf, non-zombie. Pretty good. The only time I don't like it is against other black decks, because if they're playing black, you're probably seeing Gurmag Angler. Doesn't work against them. 3 drops, Phyrexian Rager, 2/2. Cantrips, lose a life. Also works with Unearth. You can get it back if he dies, and then lose life and draw another card and get another 2/2. Chittering Rats. When Chittering Rats enter the battlefield, target opponent puts a card from his or her hand on top of his or her library. Early to mid-game, especially mid-game, it acts like a time walk. If the guy's only got a couple cards in his hand, he's got to put 1 back on his library and draw it again, so basically slows him down. Late game, it's just an expensive 2/2, but it does have Tomb for Devotion, which works well with Gary. Oubliette, exiles target creature and always attached to it. They do come back with the auras and that kind of stuff. 4 drops, we go to Tendrils of Corruption. Tendrils of Corruption deals X damage to target creature, and you gain X life or X's number of swamps you control. Pestilence. Pestilence is at the beginning of the end step. If no creature in the battlefield sacrifice Pestilence. Pestilence is 1 damage to each creature in each player. Good for keeping all the small stuff killed, and more importantly, if you got more health, it's your win con. The important part is at the beginning of the end step. So when your opponent's end step, you blow your mana, you can clear the entire board, and then untap on your untap step, do it all over again for the win. Make sure you got more health, and make sure you're going to stay with more health, because you don't want to watch the red player cast a lightning bolt to the face on the stack, and then dropping your health below, and then watching your trigger off and either kill you both for the draw or you end up losing. 5 drops, Gary. We saw Gary 2/4 body. If you got a lot on the board, it can be a big swing and a game ending. It's the primary way that actual deck wins is Gary. Gurmag Angler, 7 mana, 5/5, but delve. Potentially we could, and I've done it before. Turn 4, you can have a 5/5, which is above the curve. Pretty handy. Sideboard, 3 Duresses for the control matchups. Everybody knows what Duress is. Target opponent reveals his or her hand. Choose a non-creature on land for that player to this card. Pretty handy. Solid card. Fawn to return. Sacrifice on return. Up to 3 target creatures from your graveyard to your hand. Good getting Gary back. Recasting Gary is never a bad thing. Wrench Mind. Target player discards 2 cards unless he or she discards an artifact card. Good solid discard effect. Good against control. Choking Sands. Destroy target non-swamp land. If that land was non-basic, Choking Sand deals 2 damage to land's control. Mainly there for Tron. Destroying their Urza's towers and mines, that kind of stuff, it will really slow them down, especially when they got 1 copy. Also handy against Affinity. They tend to run a little land light, blowing up their artifact lands and then giving them 2 to the face. Just feels good. And then additional copy Pestilence. And finally, we rounded off with 2 Nihil Spellbombs. Just exile target player's graveyard. If you spend a black, we can cantrip, get a card. Good against a dredge. Again, same stuff you're playing with Bojuka Bog. Those are your side cards. So that is Mono Black Control in Pauper, and we'll be back when we get some games.